Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes. I'm delighted to be joined. By the way, we're international and continental once again. We've got Kevin McCluskey, Hungary. We've got Sean Connolly, Australia. Liam Carrigan, Japan. And we were talking before the game. I'll come to you first, Sean. You never had a chance prior to the game to chat about this. We were all pretty confident. We were talking about the free-flowing football that we were hoping to see today. Hasn't quite gone to plan, has it?
It's definitely not. No, there's the passing's been off, and apart from that, the kind of effort has been off as well. When you see stuff like Maeda getting overtaken and just blocked, he's got a run on. Defender just catches up on him and just puts himself between Maeda and the ball. So stuff like that going on that we're just not quite maximum effort, not quite maximum ability today. We're definitely off it, to be honest. But it's 0-0 and we've now got a man advantage. So it certainly could go our way going in the second half, and hopefully Postecoglou puts them on blast.
Yeah, I mean, you do kind of get that sense, though, that if we've not really been on it, Liam, that if you get to half-time kind of unscathed, you're going to get a bullet, you're going to get a rocket from Ange Postecoglou. I mean, that was miles off a vintage performance. I think we defended everything they threw at us pretty competently, though. We weren't very creative.
No, I think if I didn't know better, I would actually say the team looks quite nervous. The slack passing, the basic defensive errors that we've seen from both Kobayashi and Starfelt. Though, to be fair, they both quickly recovered from the errors that they made. I do think it just shows a team that's like, we're on the cusp of winning a championship here, and there just seems to be a wee bit of stage fright, maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting. It crossed my mind, and I was looking at how many of the players hadn't been over this course before, Liam. But obviously, that could come into it. And I was at 42 minutes. I kind of thought to myself, all of a sudden, we started to look comfortable again. The ball comes to Ralston. He plays a really good ball over to Maeda, and then obviously the game completely changes. Now, before I come to Kevin, I need to ask you first, Sean, a resident referee. What did you make of that sending off?
Yeah, look, the VAR did its job. They actually got it right. Yeah, it is a goal scoring opportunity. It's pretty clear. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say. Like, you can complain about the rule all you want, but as per the rules, that is 100% correct decision. And I also understand why he didn't give it in the first place, because when it's moving fast pace, it is actually less clear that there's not a Hearts defender with any chance of stopping that chance at goal. So I think Nick Walsh was okay with the yellow in the first place. I don't think it was an obvious red, but I think when you see the replay, it is an obvious red. And so I think they've got it spot on, and VR's done its job, referees done its job, whoever's out there has done their job.
I found it interesting that the commentary was saying that if you can keep someone on, keep them on. I'm thinking that's not really the rule. So if there's a sending off offence, Kevin, you send them off. And I do expect that to completely change the game. Hearts came out the traps, playing really quite high line against Celtic. But as I said before, I felt, other than the slackness that Sean's already mentioned with the passing, and Kobayashi was guilty of that a few times, I felt we defended it pretty well, pretty comfortably, I've got to say.
Yeah, I felt so. But going back to the last point, I think Don Robertson last weekend must have been of that view of if you can keep them on, keep them on, because he was definitely keeping his cards in his pocket when he could have been bringing them out. On that one today, I agree with Sean on that assessment of it, because my first view or first thought of it was, it's a yellow card, it's the right call, there's a player coming in to cover. But when you see it back on the replay, there's no way the Hearts defender would be getting there before Maeda, and it is a clear goal scoring opportunity. So as much as we've maligned VAR and poor decisions, especially at Tynecastle earlier this season, it has worked today and it's done its job. I've been, from a couple of weeks ago, from the Motherwell game, when I was the angry old man shouting at clouds at how Motherwell were playing, I've got to come out and say I'm the opposite today with Hearts. I've actually been really impressed by them. They've come out and they've been, for me, pretty aggressive and direct in their play. They haven't let us settle and get involved in the game. And I'm going to hopefully say it this way: when we win it come the end of the game, because I think now we've got the man advantage, we should push on and win the game. It's going to be a really hard fought win, and it's going to be one that we'll look back on and take a bit of pleasure and delight from, because we've actually been involved in a proper game of football against a team that's kind of tried to have a go against us. But like the lads have already said, everything that's come in, more or less, we have dealt with it. There's been a couple of shaky moments, but it's been of our making when we've had the ball at the feet. And Kobayashi's been slacking his passing. But for the majority of the time, I think we've dealt with most of what's come in. We just haven't been able to do anything from middle to front. With the man advantage, you'd like to think they'll tire a wee bit. There's going to be more space. We've got options off the bench. Confident we'll get the job done in the second half.
Sean,
Sorry,
do you want to make
just
a point
on
on
the
it?
yeah, just on we were talking about there the man advantage. I was actually one of my notes before the man gets sent off. I typed down Jota is invisible, and then Jota switches wings with Maeda, and I was like, okay, now Maeda's disappeared. So what's actually happening here is we're getting nothing down the right. So the question is it because it's Ralston's not giving us an attacking option, or is it because their left back was really good? So now that he's removed from the equation, we're going to find out second half, right?
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, we've got to mention the best tackle of the first half was Jota on Naismith. He didn't go in high enough, if you ask me. Mount Cadath. If you thought it was going to be a walk in the park to win the league at Tynecastle, you were very optimistic, I'd say. But you know this, we try to inject a wee bit of optimism into proceedings, I've got to say. And it's nice to see a bit of, you can see that there's a bit of compassion here. And a wee bit of sympathy for the boy getting sent off. So CJ comes in. That Cochrane was the best player in the park until the Reds, but it's a Red, so see you. Well, exactly. I see you, Bob. He was playing pretty well. Joe Fulham also comes in to say we need... I've seen this coming up a few times. I'm going to ask yourself, Liam. We need midweek games to get the fluency. Do you agree with that?
I definitely think that there is something to be said for it, but... The thing is, a team like Celtic, we can afford to have midweek games because we've got the option of rotating 3 or 4 players if we have to and not really weakening the team all that much. Whereas, with the greatest respect to them, teams like St Mirren, Ross County, Motherwell, they're going to struggle to fulfil 2 fixtures every week if they have to do that. So I can see the point. I think I agree it would benefit Celtic, but I can also see why the authorities don't do it.
Yeah. I mean... What other points to discuss in that first half? We've spoken about Hearts, the way they've approached the game. There has been a turnaround since Naismith came in. A couple of decent results. If they going into the half-time break, certainly. There was a moment, I think, maybe midway through that half that I thought Callum McGregor, Kevin, was doing his usual when we're not really at it, and he feels the responsibility to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He done brilliantly on the right-hand side, comes in, and he creates a bit of space for Rio. He tries a shot, and he was quite right to try the shot. And I felt at that point as well that, we've seen so many times McGregor doing that. The players realise that obviously it's not really as fluent as we would like it to be, and who better than Callum McGregor to grab the game, and hopefully we're able to, twist that in the second half and turn the screw in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's one of his kind of key elements of his game that we were speaking about beforehand. As a leader, that ability that when the game's not going right and we're struggling to get involved in it, when he picks the ball up, he'll make something happen. He'll drive us forward. He'll take us 10, 15, 20 yards up the pitch. And that particular one, he's laid it inside to Hatate. It's a decent strike. It looked closer from the first view, and then you see it behind, and he's curled it quite a bit off. But it's those moments in games that when it's not going right, those are the ones that can change it for you and just give you that wee bit impetus again back in the attack. Because I think that was maybe midway through the first half.
Yeah.
And it kind of lulls for a bit. But then again, McGregor starts to put his foot in the ball about 10 minutes later. And for the first time in the game, we start to have a decent bit of controlled possession because we didn't have that before. And he's the one he's been behind everything good that we've done, basically, so far. He's driven us forward. He's controlled the possession when he's had to. And he's bringing others in the game. He's given boys like Hatate the chance as well. In the advanced position, Hatate's tried a couple of through balls that have just been cut out. So you can sense that something's coming. And when it does come, you're not going to be surprised that McGregor will be behind it somewhere.
Yeah, you would not be surprised. I think, at half-time, there's a tendency, Sean, to look at that and say, right, well, change it. But with the sending off at the end of the first half, would you maybe hang off on any changes to see how we settle into our playing against the 10?
Oh, there's a difference between what I would do and what Ange would do, and I might make a sub to make a message, but it's very, very rare for Ange to do that. He would normally send players out, give them a chat, and send them back out. I can't even think of an example where he's pulled someone off for performance at halftime. He's done it for injury, but I honestly can't think. Even when Moy was having a stinker in that last Sevco game, he left them on. So I don't think there'll be any changes. I do think, though, that the nature of the game will change and Hearts will get deeper. I mean, the first, one of my notes is 18 minutes in was the first time we had defensive possession at the halfway line was 18 minutes into the game. And that is so rare because normally from minute one, we have like defensive possession right up at halfway. But Hearts have just been absolutely frantic. And you can see it kind of telling on them. And that's probably where the red cards come from. Do you know what I mean? Like the energy is just you can't maintain that, you know. And hopefully in the second half we've got this quality in the bench, you know, Iwata and Moy, and hopefully bring that on against tired legs, and hopefully that will tell.
I think it's a good point, because how often have we seen it, Liam, where we are being attacked but we can soak it up? And I think we were soaking it up in the first half. At the end of that first half there, another comment that was made was that, you make a decision like that, it ruins the game. Ah, well, the ref still got to make the decision. I mean, it's an infringement.
It was the defender's decision to make the foul, not the referee's decision to
I know. The ref's job's not to try and not ruin the game by making it. If you get sent off, you go down to 10 men, then it's Celtic's job now to go out there and get the job done. I was just going to ask you, because obviously Hearts made a few changes after the sending off, as you would expect, but they took off Oda, a player who obviously coming from the J League, so they've taken a nod at Celtic's recruitment policy there. He was pretty impressive in the first half, Liam. What do you know about him?
Well, I'm going to slightly disagree with you there. I think he actually didn't have that good a game. I thought he miscued quite a lot of the chances that were created for him. He looked a wee bit like a rabbit in the headlights at times when he had the ball. Maybe just nerves because it's a big occasion, but not a player I've heard a great deal about beforehand, and a player that, I'll be honest, I'm not all that impressed with, having watched him today.
There you go.
I think that's the third or fourth time he's played against us, and that's the best he's played. So that's
Keimatsu, who was the best, Jota on the wing or Oda on the wing. Well, there you go. I just take it for granted that anybody from the J League, Liam, will have a dossier on them, and he can come out with plenty of stats and fill us in with as much information as possible. Now, Kevin did point out that we needed a 95th minute winner, and you did say, Kev, listen, if we get that, it'll be satisfying. I'll be happy. That'll be us wrapping up the league title. On the point that Liam made earlier on, though, I think in and else, they're going to be settled by this stage. We're at half-time. You're going to get the half-time. I don't think it'll be a rollicking team talk from Ange Postecoglou. We know that we are in the ascendancy now. We're a man up. And we just go out there in the second half. And I just think, no changes will be made within the first 10, 15 minutes. We'll make the breakthrough, Kev. You changing your prediction?
No, I'm gonna stick with that one. I'll stick with the 2-1. Why not? And similarly, I don't think there'll be very many or any changes even at halftime, because, like Sean said, it's not Ange's style. Us as fans will probably look at things and go, "You'd make changes." Ange won't. He'll be in there. He's a man manager and a motivator, and he'll be having a word with the players, and they'll be coming out knowing exactly what they need to do in the second half. Also, knowing if they don't do it, you've got Abada, you've got O, you've got Moy, you've got attacking options there that can come on.
Yeah.
They're going to tire at some point in the game. You fancy Celtic will get the first goal. Basically, Hearts, for me, had to get the first goal in the first half an hour if they were going to win. And now they're a man down, it becomes even more difficult for them. So, yeah, confident. I'll stick with the 2-1, and let's make it a 95th minute Carl Starfelt goal just to really wrap it up.
Oh, he had it in the net, didn't he? He scored that one that was chalked off.
He did. I mean, Sean, what about yourself? Is it a case now we're just wearing them down? They put a lot into that first half, the Hearts, and obviously with a one-man advantage, and the fact that, there's been a few stray passes, but, if you would make a change, for example, Kyogo's not been in the game, put O on, it makes no difference, because Kyogo's had no service in the first half. So I think we're going to have to be patient, but we will make the breakthrough. Are you quite happy with that, or would you make any changes, Sean?
I wouldn't make any changes, and I think it feels like unless we score straight away, which I doubt, it feels like it's going to be one of those games where it's 1-0, scoring in like the 82nd minute, and it'll be whoever it is will go down as the player that scored the goal late on that won the league, like Rogic or Nakamura or Vinegar of Hesselink or whatever. I think that's set up for someone, and I think it's maybe set up for someone like Adam Moy, to be honest.
Nice. I hope it's Tony Ralston. I really do. I hope it's Tony. What about yourself, Liam?
I would like to see O come on and do it, either O or Haksabanovic, because I think those are two guys that are going to be big players next season. And getting the goal that wins us the league today might be a nice wee statement for them going forward.
Nice springboard. Let's go back to the action.
You know
Thank
what?
you.
Can I just
Sorry,
say
Kev.
on that one, let's make it Bernabei, and then Jim Orr can do a bend it like Bernabei.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
Be all over it. Aye,
There we
in 25 years. Aye, let's do that. You're always thinking about it, Jim. Thanks to the 700 plus who tuned in on the live stream. It really is much appreciated. Give us a wee thumbs up if you can on the YouTube. We're going to go back to the action. All that's left for me to say is Kevin, Sean, and Liam, thank you for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.